Welcome to the Forward Miami Show. I'm your host, Damian Pardo, and today we're going to be talking about Women for Paws with Grace C. Lopez, a friend and a colleague and someone I admire in the community. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. Listen, I always start out the show learning a little bit about the person and how you got here, your history in Miami.
Of course. So I was born in Cuba and I came at a very early age. I was 5 years old. So I'm a product of this community from the beginning. I'm not going to tell you how long I've been in the community, but it's been a very, very long time. And my background is legal management. So I'm a legal manager. I run law firms. I do operations. I have my own consulting business. I manage law firms. But my passion is Women for Paws. Animals.
I was going to say, it sounds like you have a very big job. And then on top of that, you have to have this passion because
Yes.
you're cutting into your time, personal time, family time, everything else.
Absolutely.
So how did you come into Women for Paws?
So it's a very interesting story because I volunteered at the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. I was with the organization volunteering for 9.5 years. And I saw how many patients, how many women with breast cancer had to relinquish their dogs, their cats, their animals, their pets, because after treatment and during treatment, they couldn't take care of their dogs. They couldn't take care of them. They couldn't feed them. They couldn't walk them. So they didn't have the financial support needed to pay somebody to walk them, board them, or take care of them. So a lot of the times that when they relinquished their dogs to friends, it was like a financial burden. They would give the dog away. They would give the cat away. The dog was never returned, the same way that it was left. It was not cared for. So I promised myself that one day I would create an organization that would provide financial assistance to all these pet owners that are going through temporary, medical conditions or financial hardship. People that have lost their jobs, that are deciding whether to go to the groceries to buy pet food or real food for themselves. So I have created that organization. It was founded in 2010, and it wasn't until the pandemic that I was able to really put it into play.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable how much need there was in our community because people losing their jobs, people working remotely, and thinking they can have now 3 pets when they really couldn't, and how many people got ill or how many people died because of our pandemic. So Women for Paws came to the rescue, and I started helping pet owners word of mouth. I've never done a marketing. I'm my own marketer. I've done my own website. I do everything myself. I'm a one-woman show. What's amazing about the organization is that every dollar that anyone donates to the organization goes directly to pet owners in need. And the reason being is because I fund all the administrative and operational costs. So there are no costs, no employees, no expenses, none whatsoever. Every donation touches the life of a pet owner in need.
Let me ask you a quick question. The organization's name is Women for Paws.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I started it. Women for Paws was founded in 2010 when diversity was real sexy. Everybody was talking about diversity, and all the law firms. I came from a law firm name because Women at Weil, which was one of the law firms that I used to work at, and Women for this and Women for that. And I'm like, well, I'm a woman. I founded the organization, so Women for Paws.
Makes sense.
I looked it up in the entire U.S. I trademarked the name, and I own it. I'm very proud of it. And it's an incredible name. A lot of people walked up to me, and it's interesting because most people think, wait, do you only help women? No, of course not.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying that because
I help pet owners. Doesn't matter who you are. From every community, from every sense of the way. I don't care who you are, what you look like. What I care about is that you save your pet's life and that you don't take it to a shelter because you need financial assistance.
And I imagine that you welcome men to be on the board, to be in leadership.
I would love that.
To be, it sounds like you're still at that stage where you're building a board.
I am.
You can use help from people.
Oh, boy, can I use help from people. Yes, I am building a board. I don't have a board yet. I have, my wife and I are the only volunteers, you'll see us at Miami Beach Pride. We're going to be there full 2 days, day and night. And we will be the only ones working. Very proud of it. Very busy people, business people, but nevertheless, we take the time to do what's right for the community.
That sounds great, but where if people wanted to help you, if they wanted to talk to you and say, "Hey, I might be able to help with this or serve on your board," where should they reach out?
So they can reach out to Women for Paws, or they can send me an email directly at Grace, Grace, at women, WOMEN, Paws, PAWS.org.
And Women for Paws is the website. Like if they
Yes.
Google Women for Paws,
Women,
it'll come up.
right? Women for Paws, not woman, because a lot of people go
Yeah.
woman. There's no woman. It's women.
It's women.
Women. and yes, I have a website that I created myself, and I'm very proud of. It's not very sophisticated, but it does the work. It has a lot of photographs of the events that we host. The people we cannot. One of the situations, and I think one of the challenges that I have as a founder of Women for Paws, is that everybody wants to connect, your dollars to a face. Some of the people that we help, they're faceless.
Yeah.
So what I do is I try to take a photograph of the dogs. I send them, please let me, can you share a photograph of your dog? One of the things that we're focusing on for 2023 is victims of domestic violence. So I just got my first grant from the Human Animal Alliance, which I'm going to be doing a press release this week. And it's dedicated for victims that are suffering, that their pets are being targeted for people that live in really, really dangerous relationships. So the dog and cats have become the target. So what Women for Paws is doing is
Oh my God!
providing.
I never would have
horrible.
imagined.
It's horrible.
That would have been. I thought it was the person feeling abused to keep them support and company.
So
But it's not. It's actually they're targeting their animals.
So a way of abuse for the human being is to get a dog and beat him in front of the victim. It is horrible. It is horrific. I've had people call me and say that they prefer to live in their car than to be in an abusive relationship that they're targeting the dog or the cat as a form of punishment. And so what I'm doing is I'm providing emergency funding for boarding and hiding their dogs. It's their choice. I'm not a rescue. I'm not a shelter. I provide financial support. So they have to identify where they want to board their animals, or if they want to pay a family that needs, the funding to pay for that animal's food and such. But until this person can get into a better situation and out of the abusive relationship, it is absolutely horrible. It's something that exists that most people don't know about, that I'm planning to make a lot of noise about it. So hopefully, as I get more funding, I will make the community more aware of this dire need, because it is affecting us. And sometimes these victims, the only thing they have is that pet. So without that pet, they will go into depression. There's tons of articles written, books written about the relationship between a pet and a human and what it means. And I can tell you that there's a majority of the homeless people that you see with a pet choose not to go to a shelter because a pet is not allowed in the shelter. So it's a real thing.
Oh no, I've seen it.
It's a real thing.
I've seen it. I want to say something else about your organization. I think that it's very unusual, first of all, to see an organization. There are a few that don't have staff, that don't have admin costs, that have someone as passionate as you running it, willing to sacrifice as much as you're sacrificing. And so for our viewers, for people out there, I would encourage them to find a way to find you, because I think it's actually a very sad thing. As somebody who's been involved for 35 years in Miami grassroots action and organizations, there's less and less and less. And those are the people closest to communities. Those are the people who really know what's going on. So if you're listening out there, please take the time and reach in your pocket, whatever you can, find Women for Paws and make that donation, because obviously it's a good cause. But beyond that, you have to honor people like you who are putting in the time and the sacrifice.
Thank you.
And who are not getting a salary, and we don't have enough of yous in the world. So on top of that, you're fighting as hard as you can not to be funded and not to feel the love and support from people in the community. It's not what we need to be doing as a community, because if we want to get better, Forward Miami, the name of our organization,
Yeah.
if we really want to
It's
move
true.
forward, we
It's
need to acknowledge and support and fund you and people like you that are making these life sacrifices to move us in a better place. I have to say, when I first heard your mission and we talked a little bit about it, I tried to find other organizations doing this, but there are none, right?
There are none in the entire United States. Everybody that I've talked to, and I collaborate with other, shelters and rescues. I try to advocate for adoption, anything. I also partner with Miami-Dade County Animal Shelter to make sure that if there's anything I can do to prevent that animal from ending up in a shelter, I will do it. So there isn't an organization like this. I wanted something very, very unique. Women for Paws is the only organization that writes the check directly to the pet owner. Everybody else, has discounted vet bills, or they provide food, or they provide physical items. I write the check. I go through a due diligence. I have my form. I have an application that people have to apply. I have to see if they're just bluffing. I do my due diligence. I look them up on social media. I want them, they can't show up. You can't show up with a, Prada purse and all of a sudden you need $500 for your pet's needs. That's not going to go well with me. And I'm going to call you out on it because it's not fair.
I'm really glad you're bringing it up, because I imagine, and having been in the community this long, I know that people like to fund things that are tangible, so that if anybody calls the question, they can show, oh, this is exactly what it went for.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think that leads big gaps in our services and big gaps in our community, because personally, I think it's ridiculous. Anybody can falsify an invoice, submit it, and you're paying it. And okay, you have your documentation, but what's the real work that was done behind it? So I'm glad you're doing the due diligence and that you're checking, because just as somebody listening to this conversation, I would think, and in the finance world, I would think, wow, that's how as a donor, how do you know it's really being applied correctly and not going to a relative? Or obviously, I know that you wouldn't
100%.
do that.
No, but it's a real concern. And just yesterday, I received an email, and this gentleman who lives in Tampa, he needs assistance, and he had enough money to move, but doesn't have enough money for the pet deposit. Pet deposit is $300, and that's another thing that we do. But you have to show that you really have a need. So he sends me a screenshot of the paragraph where it says $300 pet deposit. Now I'm like, wow, this is great. I need a copy of the lease with your name. I need a photograph of your dog. I need your address. And then I need you to complete an application. You can't send me a screenshot of a paragraph that you could have picked up anywhere on the internet. I need proof that this is so. And I will go even to the extent of calling the landlord and asking if it's true that there's a pet deposit in need. Because anybody can draft an application, a lease, you know that. And I have a responsibility. I have a huge responsibility to my donors. And I cannot just start giving money. I'm very frugal with my money, with the Women for Paws money. I don't write checks just because. You have to show that you have a real need. I need invoices from if it's an emergency, if it's a surgery, I need to call. It's not just something that you can just draw up online. They deserve that. My donors deserve that.
Another thing I will say, I'm a big fan. I have dogs and cats. And I have to say that I'm always shocked by the number of conversations I've had with my vets where they say that owners will often just leave the dog there because they can't afford the surgery. Like they'll just say, I'm sorry, but
That's correct.
Just put him down, which is very sad. And the actual vets will say, I won't do that. They'll return the dog back and say, I'm not putting the dog down.
Correct.
This isn't a terminal.
Correct. And I have a strong message for those pet owners, because they're not true pet owners. Because who do you know of will take a child to a pediatrician, and if it becomes ill, you just leave your child there? So this message is for everybody that's listening, and I'm very adamant about the fact that it is a huge responsibility. It's at least a 15 to 18 years responsibility, depending on the dog and the breed. You can't just go to a shelter and adopt, or you can't go to a fancy, pedigree person, breeder, and buy these dogs. It is a huge responsibility. And I'm against those people. And I wish that I can counsel them. I wish that I can give them advice. I wish I can provide them the service, not only financially, but also talk to them. Because these pets have a heart. These pets were not chosen by these families. They were chosen by one person to come into their lives, and now they're going to relinquish them because they're damaged goods. I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with irresponsible pet owners.
Yeah, and I've seen people do the same thing. Not only do they do it once, then they get a new pet and do it again and again,
And again,
sometimes 3 and 4 times.
yeah.
And I would think that there should be some kind of education or program or something that can help there too.
I'm trying to create a lot of marketing materials. And when I say marketing materials, social media postings, I do my own advertising in Canva, marketing in my website, anywhere that I possibly can, especially when I have events that I educate people and I have the opportunity to get a mic and speak up and say, let me just tell you about the dire need in our community. But absolutely, I think it's not cute when somebody buys a puppy and it's so cute, it's so, you just started a new relationship, so you don't know what to give this person that has everything. Oh, let's give it a dog or a cat. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Because 9 out of 10 times, if the relationship ends, so will that pet. It will end up in a shelter.
Or to a little child that's not capable of really taking care of it.
Or that hates pets, or hates cats or dogs, or abuses the cat. Or oh, how cute, he's 3 years old and he's chasing. Oh my God, no, it's not cute. Pets deserve to live and they deserve a good life, and that's why Women for Paws was created, to make sure that they get the care that they need.
To the extent you can, I thought it would be a good opportunity to give a couple of examples of cases that you've had so that people can kind of connect with the work that you do.
So because my mission started with the mindset, I guess I got goosebumps because it just happened recently. But my mission started with breast cancer patients who were not able to take care of their pets. And about 2 years ago, I received a call from this lady. Not only did she send me a photograph of her dog, but she sent me a photograph of herself. She had no hair. She was going through breast cancer treatment 4 times. And she needed assistance for her pet bill. I just learned 2 weeks ago that this woman has passed since then. Her review is on my Google review. It's one of the first reviews that I received. Amazing. I can't barely talk about this because she reached out to me about 6 weeks ago that she was in need again. And I'm like, well, why are you in need again? This time it was because her son couldn't take care of the dog. It was becoming too expensive. So I wrote a check for $250 for food and for the immediate needs. And I just learned 2 weeks ago that this lady passed. And the son is thinking of taking the dog. I'm trying to see if I can provide more financial support to convince the son of taking the dog. But these are the kind of people that we help. They may be here today and gone tomorrow. They're very ill, they're sick. Some of them are homeless. Some of them are sleeping in people's couch, but they can't stay. They can't stay in the house that they're sleeping in because they don't allow the dog, so the dog has to stay somewhere else. And boarding has gotten so expensive, so expensive. It used to be like $500, $600 a month. Now it's $45, depending on the size of the dog, it's $45 to $60, $90, $120 a day. So imagine how much money, how many $5 donations that you saw me at, right? Collecting to make one boarding assistance of $1,000. It's insane. The need is insane. It's a real need.
No, and then thinking about people who are going through already a health crisis.
Yes.
And then layering this issue on top of all the issues just with survival that they have, having to deal with this financially, I would think.
It's horrible.
And for those people so concerned about, well, you may not know exactly where that dollar is going, honestly, I would be way less concerned about that, because anybody can create, like I said, an invoice, but more importantly, if those $50 went to something else that was involved that made life better for that person and that animal,
Yes.
I'd be in favor of it.
Yes. There's a true need, and I'm glad that I was able to create this, and I'm going to take this organization really, really high up there. It's going to become an
I have no doubt.
organization
I
that
have no
the
doubt.
county, the city, I have a lot of support with people that want to see where this is going and that want to support me. So I'm hoping to do so. I have a lot of nonprofit experience, over 21 years of you know volunteering and managing nonprofits, and this is a real need. And oh my gosh, what more, what bigger than a heart of an unconditional heart of a dog or a cat or a pet? Because a pet can be anything. It can be a reptile for a lot of people. It doesn't matter. I don't discriminate. I mean, they should have paws, but if it's considered a human being's pet,
I'm glad you're saying that.
it's a pet.
Yeah, 'cause it's emotional support for
It's
the
a pet.
person.
If that's what it means, I can tell you that I was raised by a single mom, an alcoholic. She was an alcoholic, and for me, my pet was my life, my refugee, my person to go to, my paw to go to, was not a human. It was my dog. Where I would hold it really tight in really, really tough situations, and I've never been without a dog. I've never been without a pet. I love them. I will do anything for them. I will advocate for them. I will raise money for them. I will put my personal financial needs aside to make sure that a pet is taken care of.
That's amazing.
And I'm proud of the work that I'm doing.
No, you should be. You should be very proud.
So, thank
As
you.
far as some of the events that you put on, can you go through some ideas so people get a sense, like the kind of events
Sure.
that they might be able to participate or support?
Sure. So I started the first event. I started in my own neighborhood in Belmead, and I started combining the doggy parade. The neighbors have a doggy. We compete, they costumes and such. But then I'm like, wait a minute. What better? The best people that can vouch for you and the work that you do are your neighbors, because they see you. They know where you live. They know what you do. They know if you deliver what you're saying. So I decided to doing a fundraiser. So now I have a puptail party in my front lawn.
I love it. A puptail party.
Puptail party. And I'm very fortunate. Tito's Vodka, the founder, is a huge dog lover. So I'm he has a foundation for nonprofits, for animal nonprofits, in addition to everything they do in the community. So I was able to start, and I've done 2 already. And it's gaining population, and it's gaining, I always do it on Eventbrite, even if it's a complimentary. So I do a fundraiser. And then I
And
did.
how does that work? Like, what does the puptail party look like?
So, well, you have to dress up your dog because there will be awards, from Belmead. And the commissioners come, they're the judges. I mean, it's like a real thing. It's like, I would say 200,
And this is
250
something you
people.
could do in other neighborhoods, right? Like Coral
Any
Gables or
any
Hialeah
neighborhood.
or wherever.
Absolutely. Wherever they have paws, I can do it.
Overtown.
Everywhere. I would love to do something in Overtime. I love my commissioner, King. I love her. But I would love to get more involved in doing these things. And I also have done, Blessing of the Animals with the All Souls Church in Miami Beach. They have allowed us to be the nonprofit to receive, I guess, donations of that day. So I do that as well. And also, recently I did something for Valentine's for the first time, which is not going to be the last. It was a puptail puppy love.
What a great idea. They say
Puppy.
that the best way to sometimes find a good mate or partner or
Yes.
husband or wife is to use,
Yes.
I mean, it sounds horrible, use your animal, but you know what I mean.
As long as you keep your animal, I'm allowed with you using your animal, but as long as you keep whatever animal you're using.
Right, no, you know what I mean. Like,
Yes, no, but it's true.
I know, but not
It's
really
true.
use it, but it's a nice way to socialize both
Yes,
the
yes.
pet and the owner and to meet new people.
So it was a beautiful event. It was sponsored by the Confidant Hotel and in Miami Beach, and it was just beautiful. You should have seen how many people brought their dogs, how they dressed. It was a Valentine's decor. It was a nice fundraiser. It really, really was. And it was a lovely event. So like those, and I try to promote it as much as I can, but I am planning, I hope to be one of those organizations that has a black tie You know, I'm hoping
A
to be at the
gala.
Biltmore,
So
you
a
know, one day,
gala.
a
Yeah.
gala.
Oh, you will be, yeah.
I would love that. I would love nothing more. And I would love to fund everything, continue to fund it. So every donation, I'm very proud of that. Every donation goes to the pet owners. So
When you think about, I don't know, the next 3, 5 years, what would you like to see for Paws, Women for Paws?
I would like the community to know that we exist. I would like to know for the pet owners in desperate need that there's an organization like Women for Paws that is here for them. That they don't have to figure out whether to buy an inexpensive dog food or a prescription dog food that is needed to save that pet's life.
What would most help you in getting the word out? Like what professions, what kind of people would be very helpful for you
I
to make
think
that a reality?
I think that I think it's general. I think all industries. There isn't one in particular.
But I mean, somebody that specializes in social media, somebody that
Marketing,
marketing
social media.
professional.
I need help with that. Right now. I'm sending my first press release,
Right. I mean, the moment I heard you say,
and
well,
I
I'm
don't
doing
have
my press
anybody to.
release.
I drafted my press release
Yeah.
because I know how to draft press releases, but I have no idea who's going to send it. I have no idea where to go. I went in the internet. I know that you can pay by press release, and it goes to 10 neighborhoods or something like that. But I do need help in that respect because, as you know, we live in a world of social media, as this show.
Yeah.
And unless
Sure.
there's social media and people are watching and it's real and it's to date, people want to know, they're curious. You know, Facebook, we have only 376 followers. I would love to have a lot more because it's a way of, you know, staying in touch with what we do.
So your vision over the next 5, 10 years.
Big, big, big paw help. Big paw help. I want to do so much. I would like, instead of writing $250 checks, I would love to write $1,000 checks to pet owners that saying, sew my dog back up because I can't afford that surgery. I want to save those pets.
I have no doubt that you will be able to do all of it.
Thank you, Damien.
Absolutely no doubt. And you can count on my personal support.
Thank you.
And anything Forward Miami can do, you know that we will try to do that.
Thank you
because
so
what you're
much.
doing is incredibly important for our community.
Thank you.
Last thing I wanted to cover is how people, and I know we said it, but I always want to say it again, how people can best get in touch with you if they're interested on helping, if they have marketing background, social media, if they'd like to be on your board, if they'd like to fund the organization.
We love that.
All of those
All
things.
the above. I love
all of
that.
the above. And you know what? And you need it, and
Yes.
you welcome it. And there's nothing more rewarding than being the person that steps up for this. Because
Yes.
it's not like being, and I don't want to say any names of organizations, but it's not like being on those well-established organizations
Yes.
with boards that are very well-heeled. And this is nothing like that.
Nothing
This is
like
the-
that.
right,
Nothing.
This is every little thing you do is
Yeah.
appreciated and goes directly into the community.
Correct.
So for those folks that might be interested in having a conversation with you and exploring any of these things, what's the best way to connect for you?
So they can call me at 305-778-7500. Or they can email me at grace@womenforpaws.org. You can Google me. I'm known in the community. I'm very involved in the community. And just Google Women for Paws and you will find me with a dog that I'm trying to help. You will find a lot of photos of me and a dog.
That's great.
And people too. I love people.
That's great. I certainly vouch for you. I've known you a long time,
Yes.
and I love your work. And for all
Thank
those
you.
out there who want to help, please reach out.
Thank
You
you.
will make a big difference.
Thank you
And
so
for all you
much.
out there, thank you very much for joining us. Grace, thanks for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you again next week on the Forward Miami Show.